Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. Our guest today, someone I haven't spoken to in a while or seen in a while, it's a whole other literacy life ago, is Alan Sitomer. He's the CEO for Mastery Coding. And Alan, first of all, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jose. Thank you for having me, sir. It's Sitomer. That's how long I changed my name's pronunciation since we last spoke.
Oh, look, actually, I should have asked you that because I don't know that. I said, hey, it's Alan. And you had, in the literacy life that we actually shared together, it was going back to California literacy back in 2002, 2003, 2004, somewhere in there where you got your California Teacher of the Year award. And you weren't interacting with me as much as you were Matthew Salzo. Do you remember Matthew?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, he's still around. In fact, I'll tell him that we had you on the show.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I've always been a big fan of the work that you guys do. And, obviously literacy, super, super important. And whether it's 2002 or 2021, literacy matters.
We still have work to do. We still have a lot of work to do. Thank you for, the correction on your last name, Sitomer. And what's the origin of that, Alan?
Well, some people would say it comes from a deep place in outer space, but I think there's a town called Sitomer with a Z, in kind of the old USSR territory where my great grandparents came to Ellis Island, and I'm from New York, kind of thing. And so they literally bring me, you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. That's sort of, in a way, we're all immigrants to America in lots of ways. So that's where it comes from. And I believe my great grandparents came to this country seeking opportunity, and it's so funny because we speak of literacy, and I literally remember hearing stories about how they dropped out of school in fourth grade to go work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you said, you're not just referencing your name, Alan, you're also referencing your family history, and you said where it all comes from. And where it all comes from, or where it comes from, is your passion based upon your history and your family history, but your passion for other people and your passion for reading and for writing and such. And there's so much for us to cover. I'm not really sure where to start, but I'm going to give it a shot because Mastery Coding is one thing. And that's an organization you founded. So let's start with that. And I'm going to take you all the way back to the Alan that I know and talk about these books you've written and really the literature that you produce that is quite attractive, so important to our young people. So we'll come back to that, though. And tell us what you're doing now with Mastery Coding.
So it actually, they're sort of, the literacy work I'm doing now is just a continuation of the literacy work I've always done. I just, I live in Los Angeles, and I kind of have a front row seat to seeing emerging technologies that are reshaping the globe in a way. And these things, everybody, which the pandemic has clearly illuminated, has a new interaction and dependency on technology that's unprecedented to generations prior. But I am of the belief that computer science and coding is a literacy in and of itself. And so much of my work in traditional English language arts and reading and writing has been, using literacy as a vehicle to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty. The illiterate and the illiterate are very much the ones who sort of live at the lowest socioeconomic realms of our society.
Right.
And now what we're seeing is with the birth of we do virtual reality, we have cybersecurity, we're looking into artificial intelligence. There's all these different amazing areas, from web development, just the simple languages, whether it's JavaScript or HTML, CSS. But the people that own the literacy skills are in such amazing demand by the workforce. And, the salaries are very high. And while unemployment is at this ridiculously high level, unprecedented for decades in America, in a way, the people who know how to code, who know how to program, the software engineers, they didn't miss a beat. There's a talent shortage out there. And so I started Mastery Coding because I do not feel that K through 12 schools are treating computer science and literacy in the way that I'm speaking about coding, in a way that that is merited, if you would.
Gotcha.
And, there's a pragmatism to learning about coding. There's opportunity. There's all kinds of things right there. And for us to still treat it like, well, it's a little after school club, or we dabble, right? You never hear an administrator say, oh, math? Yeah, we dabble in algebra. Right? That kind of thing. So I'm very much, of the belief that there's a it's an issue of equity, too, for us at Mastery Coding, because the students that are getting this kind of education are usually the upper middle class students in the more tony suburban areas of our country. And that's just going to exacerbate kind of the inequity, both socioeconomically, in a societal manner, et cetera, if we do not get more students of color, girls, people from diverse backgrounds into the jobs that are widely available right now.
Well, let me ask, just to make sure I have this right, what am I missing? When you're talking about coding, in literacy, of course, it's decoding, it's the code, it's phonics. You're talking about technology. Is there something happening when you're talking about that too? Is there something happening in the world of coding? Because I have actually no experience. If I know what we're talking about here, and you're going to let me know, as relates to coding and programming. Are we talking about coding as in programming, computer programming?
Yes, we are.
Well, and is there something happening out there just in a more popular way? Because I admit I'm out of touch. I made it. I was on the fringes. I'm in a good place, but there's a whole lot going on out there that I don't know about. Isn't there?
Well, I would say that it's all happening both behind the scenes and hiding in plain sight. I would have a great deal of confidence in saying you probably have a cell phone. And this cell phone has apps on it. And those apps are very often authored by computer programmers, right? Software engineers, things like that. And there's graphic designers and there's things like that. And when you move into the world of everything from Hollywood, video games, architecture, medicine, dentistry. I was meeting with some PhDs at the University of Michigan, okay? And, it's an incredible example because right now, the way that you used to have a tooth implant is, as a dentist, is that they would lay out a variety of sizes, like size 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 choices. And the dentist would hold up the possible implant into the gap that they were going to put the tooth in, and then they would kind of eyeball it, and then they would insert it, and then they would saw off the edges, right, and kind of like mold it inside your mouth. Nowadays, what they do is they take a virtual scan, they use 3D modeling and printing to get down to the exact millimeter, the perfect size, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, all that sawing and stuff, where do you think the pain comes from, right? You've got a guy with big knuckles, like mashing in your face for hours. All of that's gone. So the idea of who wrote the computer program that enabled the dentist to change the way implants are going, this is happening across every field. Right now, Dunkin' Donuts uses data scientists to determine, are chocolate sprinkles selling more than glazed donuts at 3:30 p.m. on a Tuesday when school lets out at the elementary school? Like, every company is now a technology company.
I got it. And
that's the premise.
Yeah, and Alan, we're going to. I want to continue this conversation. We're going to break here in about 30 seconds, but I think this is this was the question I had, and so I could see where the missed opportunities, for example, and the inequity would come into play. So again, coding being a literacy. Very important to all of us as consumers, and certainly, for our young people who are growing up in this world of science, numbers, precision, the kind that you're describing to us. So we're going to come back with Alan Sitomer just a minute. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Homeless veterans and their families are suffering and need our support, but many won't ask or don't know that help is within reach. Veterans Community Services is here to help. Amazingly, about 35% of the homeless in our neighborhoods are veterans with families. Low-income veterans or their friends are encouraged to contact Veterans Community Services and reach out for help with housing and other services. Call now, 800-974-9909.
I'm Dr. Janet Woodcock, Director for the Center for Drugs at FDA. If you've recovered from COVID-19, confirmed by a positive test, you're in a special position to help us fight the virus. Your plasma has antibodies that can fight COVID. Please donate plasma now. You can help save lives. There are locations across the country that have safe ways for you to donate. Find a site to donate your plasma at coronavirus.gov.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services at taxpayer expense.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McCulloughe. ChristopherMcCullough.com.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world without their smiles or their laughter? A world where children don't play or sing or dream or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we can't imagine a world without children. That's why we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children everywhere. Diseases like cancer, pediatric AIDS, and sickle cell. And we won't stop until every child is cured and every disease is defeated. because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show, and we're all on WS Radio. And we're talking to Alan Sitomer. He is the founder of Mastery Coding. And Alan, one of the questions I want to ask you is, again, there's about three of them right on top of each other. How and when did you get involved with coding? And maybe answer the question about this is an area that people perceive as being for really nerdy scientific kids.
So I think it's a natural extension of just the work I'd always been doing, particularly with Title I schools and the students who attend them. So, I've always worked hard to try to, I guess, engender opportunities for young people. And we talked at the beginning, maybe it's that Ellis Island thing in me or whatever the case may be, but I just, love kids.
Yeah.
And I, had some stuff going on in my own young life that made me kind of a hard Scrabble kid in ways, and, had some teachers that believed in me and sort of found my way through, and kind of always loved working with that population. But I think the thing that really transferred me from writing books for kids like that to creating coding curriculum, and obviously I've written a lot of curriculum for students as well in the world of English language arts, and I still have my finger in that pie, and anybody can find that out, at my website, alansitomer.com, just my name on that front.
Thank you.
But the real important aspect is it's, engagement has always been one of the foremost tools I've used to reach young people. And young people today, they love technology. They just have a deep and meaningful, affection for it. And it's not for me to judge, right? I mean, we can open up that conversation about like they should be this, they should be that, they should be this. There's a reason that I mentioned Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts sells a lot of donuts, and people should be eating carrots. You can say that all you want, right? Like it's like the should story doesn't hold up. So the should, we have like an academic esports program. These kids love video games. They're gaming all the time, right?
Right.
So we've got at Mastery Coding a curriculum that teaches them how to channel their passion for gaming and turn it into career and college opportunities. I bet you didn't know, Jose, that over 200 universities right now are giving out esports scholarships in the same way that they give out like basketball.
I've never heard of such a thing. You're absolutely right. Wow.
Millions of dollars in scholarship money is available out there, and it's just growing every year. So the premise of kind of Mastery Coding in a way is, on one front, is you take these kids that love gaming, they love video games, they sort of all that stuff, and then you teach them, all these games were made with code, and they were, there's graphic designers and artists, and there's people, there's lawyers who broker contracts, there's corporate sponsorships, there's the hardware and the IT, there's, so many different moving parts that are very legitimate career opportunities that they can be funneled into by channeling their passion. So when you say, how'd you get, and create this company, Mastery Coding, it's about meet kids where they are, and then drive them to a space that gives them agency to make their own decisions in life, and puts them in a place like in that Joseph Campbell, like find your passion and pursue that.
Right. Ellen, I mean, just in my experience knowing you, thematically, you're consistent. That is, you're not judging them. It's actually beyond that. And engagement might be a tool, but you're engaging. And so this is all making a lot of sense to me, not again, judging them. I have not my 18-year-old, but it's a long story. Anyway, 18-year-old at home. Who was too much time indoors, too much time on the computer. Boy, does he know computers, right? And I didn't know that. And I think there are millions of parents out there who don't understand that there's something going on in there, and it is a skill. It's not a waste of time. It's not just games, and it's gaming, and it's other things way beyond that you're, and maybe you can talk more about converting people like me, or converting young people who you converted to reading because you met them where they were. And not just that, you actually have done an incredible job of being them. And I'll talk about that when we talk about your books. But talk about that.
Thank you, Jose.
That's absolutely true.
I do believe that, there's a side of it that is jujitsu in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're using their energy to push them into a place they really do want to go. I mean, I've been teaching forever. Right? I firmly believe kids want to learn. Kids especially want to learn when the area of their studies is wildly exciting and presented in an engaging, dynamic, manner to them. And it's not just kids; it's probably all of us. That's how we best learn, type of thing. So it's taking that as kind of the foundational roots of the approach. Right there is the first part, and then there's another side of it that there's a lot of very, very credible, deep research on the idea of just gamification and gamified learning, okay? And the notion of the critical thinking, the collaboration, the creativity, the communication, right? All of that is available. And all of us have talked for a long time about the sort of industrial age model of education, where the sage on the stage has a linear relationship between the student. Their job is to be a well-behaved sponge that absorbs and then can regurgitate what they've absorbed through standardized testing. Right. And we wonder why boys struggle so much, in school. It's built to, like, we need you to sit down. We need you to behave. We need you to, literally just sort of, you're not going to get out. You're not going to get out. You're not going to, flex and this and that, run around, your passion. Right. We're just too much of public education. Too much education is tone deaf to the student. And when you flip that model around and you actually, like I've been doing a lot of, stuff, PD and things like that. And people have come to me, how do we engage our kids? How do we engage our kids? The ELA, like, how do you engage the kids? And the thing is that when we offer our program to schools, and schools come and they onboard our academic esports opportunities, and there's the research, all that stuff exists on the website masterycoding.com. So I don't want to get too much into that. Yeah. But engagement is not my problem, right? Yeah. Like, I got hundreds of kids that are like, anybody want to join an Overwatch team, right? Oh my, it's just, they're beating down the door to participate in what we're offering. The jiu-jitsu aspect is, how do you use gaming as a gateway to other areas that have academic efficacy? We're not just gaming for gaming's sake. That's probably the greatest misperception people often hold before they kick the tires on what we're doing.
Got it.
Right?
Yes.
They're like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Games.
But that was the same thing when I brought hip hop into the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with, my sports books, right? So I have been consistently down this road before that, at first, it's funny because when I was first named teacher of the year, right before that, I had a vice principal and it was like, don't do that. He would tell the other staff, Alan's off the chain, don't do that. And then after you win, everybody's like, oh, do more of that. I'm doing the same thing here.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to ask you if that was your experience. So yes, you've answered that question. It's like, okay, because it's edgy. I mean, it's perceived as being edgy. Maybe it shouldn't be.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. There's no need for me to hide from that, right?
Yeah.
There's a progressive nature to it. But as we see with, you look at kind of from Elon Musk and Tesla, what he's doing with vehicles. You look at Mars and NASA, what they're doing. You look at the different problems that are being faced. I'm of the opinion that, first of all, let me just say, progressive, yes, but we're very much steeped in character and principles.
I love that.
I'm as old school as old school gets when it comes to, noble ideals. You got to live with yourself. Yep. We teach young people, those areas. We're
going to have to break right now,
character.
Alan. Yeah, we're going to have to break, and I want to come back to those things. So we're talking to Alan Sitomer, and he's the CEO of Mastery Coding. We'll be back with Alan. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Does your business do a lot of shipping and wish you could get more for less? Stamps.com is the solution. It's the ideal way to automate and simplify your e-commerce shipping needs. Easily import all your venues like eBay, Amazon, and others. Trips to the post office will soon become a memory. Stamps.com gives you postage on demand. Just click, print, and mail at discounted shipping rates. See why so many e-commerce businesses have switched. Visit Stamps.com.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The WorldLink program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
Love to read but just don't have the time? With Audible.com, you can catch up on reading simply by listening. Audible has the largest collection of digital audiobooks, over 85,000 titles in every genre. Listen to a bestseller on your iPhone, BlackBerry, Android smartphone, or one of 500 other compatible devices. Visit audible.com/WS Radio today and get a free audiobook when you try Audible free for 14 days. That's audible.com/WS Radio.
I've heard this is like one of the best pizza spots in town.
Yes, it is.
I'll do a slice of pepperoni, slice of vegetarian.
You got it.
And I will pay for all of that in 3 days.
In 3 days? What's that mean?
Well, wait, you accept credit cards. That money's not going to hit your account for 3 days anyway.
I need my money quicker.
At Chase, we hear you. With Express Funding, card payments are in your Chase account the next business day. Go to chase.com/expressfunding. Chase for business, so you can.
Compensated participation. All businesses are subject to credit approval. Not all clients are eligible for next business day funding, and additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world without their smiles or their laughter? A world where children don't play or sing or dream or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we can't imagine a world without children. That's why we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children everywhere. Diseases like cancer, pediatric AIDS, and sickle cell. And we won't stop until every child is cured. and every disease is defeated. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. We're talking to Alan Sitomer. He is the founder and CEO of Mastery Coding. Alan, how does one as a student engage with you and Mastery Coding? Either a student or just somebody in general. Who are your partners out there?
Yeah, well, so we work with both. We work with a lot of school districts, so administrators, principals, STEM teachers, educators, computer science teachers, district literacy people, CTE coordinators. So there's that's one bucket where we bring inside the bell schedule curriculum to schools, and when we provide everything for them on that front. We also have, because there's some, parents that want us, the kids want us directly, we have camps and we have clubs as well.
Wow.
So a camp would be like spring break is coming up. So like we've got camps, for Among Us. We've got camps for Minecraft. We've got camps for Overwatch and things like that. So, what are we doing, especially in California right now where we're on lockdown? You can't have physical camps. We have virtual camps, and they are called our game and learn camps. So they're not just going to play the games. Of course they're going to play, have fun, win prizes, make new friends, etc., smile, laugh. But what they're also going to do is they're going to advance their knowledge about STEM subjects, about career explorations, in some cases about coding and graphic design, art, things like that. So they get to really deeply explore the games that they love so much from a variety of angles, as I said, as a possible gateway to explore some ideas for, possibilities that a lot of these kids, they don't even have a vision that they can do this one day. We've talked about that in the world of literacy a lot, Jose, when students don't have parents who are readers at home modeling what good, strong reading habits look like. They need teachers to sort of model for them what strong reading habits look like.
Right. Well, here's
same principle.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, these are so a lot of what we do at Mastery Coding is predicated on the proven pedagogy of years gone by. A lot of research-based best practices that we're simply applying to the study of different subject areas. So the people with the PhDs, and obviously, I can use all the big words and stuff, and I can talk about how we're standards-based, project-based, personalized learning, right? And blah, 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 blah. That part is easy. But the question is, can you reach the kids? Can you engage the kids? Can you teach them something meaningful? And can you get them wanting to come back for more?
Right.
And when you hit that sweet spot, that's really when you win. And that's what we do at Mastery Coding.
And in terms of what's being offered in programming, I don't know what age groups we're talking about, junior high, high school. There is the question about access and equity. How are you able to close that gap if this kind of programming is something someone would specially ask you for versus already having as part of their lineup of classes?
Wow, that's like a third rail question in America today. Right?
You're right.
It's so
Just laid it on you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a clean heart about this because I am overtly trying to extend opportunities to students that have not traditionally been afforded the opportunities to access this kind of education. I am a bald-faced, overtly targeting that demographic, okay? And for example, we've got a hackathon coming up, okay? And so we are going to provide, and if you don't know what a hackathon is, it's basically a bunch of kids get together. Well, we're doing it for kids, right? They get together and they prototype, they build, they innovate, and they kind of go on this like bender, like 1 or 2 day, like just throw it together, this and that. It's like, what can you create, cook, innovate, and there's prizes and stuff like that. So we're going to give some free workshops prior to the hackathon, and then give access to the hackathon, and the whole thing would have a value of hundreds of dollars per kid, right? I mean, it would just, it's like basically the last week of July, there's an entire week of camp, and you know how much camps cost, so this is not an inexpensive thing. We're giving it away free, okay, just free. All you got to do is sign up. Kids between the ages of 15 and 19, and they'll just go to masterycoding.com, and if they are in there and they want to go, and the theme of this hackathon is esports, right? So the challenge is basically, what's your favorite video game? Challenge. What would you like to do to improve it, innovate it? Come up with any idea. Doesn't matter, right? Bring it. Come explore, right? And we're going to have entrepreneurs as guest speakers. We've got, people from, all the famous technology companies are going to come speak and mentor. We've got people, across the business spectrum, across the computer science spectrum, and things like that. And we're really trying to advocate that these kids, step into a new world that they didn't even know existed. Right. And once they're inside, Jose, back away. Yeah. These kids are so creative and so dynamic. They have so much talent, that's just unharvested. So I really hope if there's any listeners to your show who know any kids that might benefit, that they go, because like I said, it's first come first serve, so we don't have unlimited space, but you understand the demographic we're shooting for. Absolutely. And no charge to the kid.
Wonderful. This is an enormous leap, Ellen, because if we're talking about literacy, while parents have books, they know about reading, they know about the value of reading, they have the opportunities, we like to think, to pass that on to their children. Here with coding, there's an enormous gap because it's not in my generation. We didn't come from this. It's in the ones that came after us. So the modeling is not there. So that's the leap for the individuals who are typically the advocates, the adults, the parents, and so that opportunity is not there.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that the American education system is very much, we're really focused on Mesopotamia right now, and and at the exclusion of learning about JavaScript or something like that. I think that I'm not throwing history under the bus because I certainly, I'm a guy that comes out of the humanities in a way. Yeah. But we cannot keep this type of education on the shelf in lieu of, making sure kids are wildly familiar with agrarian culture. As I mentioned before, the Zoom pandemic, I think, has illuminated how there's an element of pragmatism to K-12 education that needs to be reimagined. And, I'm not a flamethrower that wants to fight and debate and red state, blue state, this and that. Like, this about kids.
Yes.
This about kids.
Yeah.
You know, I have kids, my own daughters, right? I think it's incontrovertible to put it out there that these kids need to have some semblance of fluency in cyber safety, netiquette, their digital footprint, how to interact safely and smartly with technology, and then how do these things work. And anybody who disagrees with that is, I think, somebody who's trying to sell you something or defend an archaic way of doing things in a way that's not about the best interest of the kids, but perhaps in the best interest of other motivations.
Well, there's that, and then there's people like me who are ignorant and learning.
Well, you might be uninformed, but you're not ignorant at all. You can tell by your conversation, your tenor, like you're not saying, Alan, this is BS. You know, I mean, this is your show, and we haven't yet once talked about any of my books. You know,
yeah, I know. Like, it might not be time for that.
This is legit.
Yeah,
That's
this is
the
legit.
point.
And the thing is, now we're going to go into a break, Alan. But today we're closing down our office. We're probably going to work remotely. You know, Zoom and just all the things that have taken place have made us comfortable with that idea. It's a whole other world, and there's some aspects of it I don't like, and then there's opportunity. We're going to talk more about that. And so we've been talking to Alan Sitomer. He is the founder and the CEO of Mastery Coding, and we're really getting deep into another kind of literacy that is a part of our lives, and more. It's in the background. It just seems to be that way. We see maybe the products and such, but certainly there's a lot more to be said about that. So we'll be back with Alan and with more of the Literacy for All radio show here on WS Radio.
Thank you for listening to WS Radio. Improve your business and your life with useful information from experts and thought leaders. WS Radio is radio with ROI.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is working to help keep you and your community safe from the threat of novel or new coronavirus. Take the following everyday steps to help avoid the spread of all respiratory viruses. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue. Throw the tissue away and then wash your hands. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects or surfaces, such as remote controls and doorknobs. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. And stay home if you are sick. Call your healthcare provider if you develop fever, cough, or difficulty breathing. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children, because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Homeless veterans and their families are suffering and need our support, but many won't ask or don't know that help is within reach. Veterans Community Services is here to help. Amazingly, about 35% of the homeless in our neighborhoods are veterans with families. Low-income veterans or their friends are encouraged to contact Veterans Community Services and reach out for help with housing and other services. Call now, 800-974-9909.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the coaches training program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show, and we've been talking to Alan Sitomer. He is the CEO and founder of Mastery Coding. Alan, before we, this is our last segment, I want to make sure that we do talk about your books, and I'm just looking at what I have in front of me. Hip Hop High School, which I think you published back in 2006, and then Homeboys, which was from 2007. Looked like you were on a writing streak there, and I know that you had The Hoopster before that. I guess for writers, people who have to write, well, they write, so are you still writing? Do you have that fire? What do you have in mind with that aspect of your talents? Because it's great stuff. Let me just say this to you, Alan, is that I don't know if you know Daphne Russell, but she's started an organization called Books Save Lives, and she has this collection of books that she encourages educators to give to their students because they meet those kids like you are doing now, where they are, and your books are in her list. So I just want you to know that.
I do know Daphne, and I think her work and her efforts are great, and I'm deeply appreciative to be included, on some of her recommended reading lists, things like that. It's definitely it feels good. So let's see. Am I still writing? Yes. I think that, the work that I'm doing as a writer right now is I'm doing much more of it about curriculum resources to reach kids for educators and publishing it through Mastery Coding. So that's kind of the type of writing I've been doing. My career, I've published 20 books, and there's a balance of, I think, 14 works of fiction and 6 nonfiction is kind of it. So I've always been a bit of a toggler, if you would. Yeah. I haven't, I probably have 6 books, in my computer files that are like, I just got to follow this, got to follow that, like that kind of thing going. But it's certainly, there's, for whatever reason, thank goodness, the well of ideas has not run dry. Now, are they good ideas? That's for other people to decide. But I still have a variety of things I'm working on.
So excited to. I have to admit this. Some of us, when we get after we're done with college, we don't read as much anymore, because we have our work reading to do. And I did stop reading books, but then I started again, and I started with some of your books. They move, they're interesting, they're engaging and such. And so I have a lot going on right now. I had for a long time Love in the Time of Cholera sitting on my shelf forever. I'm reading that.
Great book. Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. And I don't know how you do what you do, because you sound like you were in the culture of the young people you're writing about. I don't know how you do that. And I just want to ask, did you get close on any of these being converted into a movie? For example, Homeboys is it's like crying for attention.
Yeah. Homeboys came close a couple of times. Hollywood is its own like, who knows? It's all I can say. I don't think anybody has yet figured it out. There's somebody who's waiting tables right now in Los Angeles that's going to be an A-list movie star at $25 million a picture, in a year's time, and they don't even know it yet. And there's other people that used to be A-list movie stars, and they're going to find themselves on reality television, dancing with crocodiles,
right.
wondering what happened to that person. So there's been interest in a variety of my books being turned into projects for film and things like that, but nothing has ever sort of, hit the big screen yet. It's one of those things I would love to obviously see that happen, and who knows one day. Right there, maybe Jose, you can turn into a director, and you could put on a beret and get a monocle and take over one of the.
I'd love to have that kind of influence. Let me bring you back to another topic that kind of merges everything together. So I'm really going to challenge you on this one. I'm going to challenge myself asking the question, but you mentioned character. You've been, as well as this whole skill of coding and character and being a good person. You're a writer. You value reading. There's a perception out there that the computers are taking us away from each other, and then people are losing social skills. I'm gathering at a certain place, beyond what you're doing, things go into a college level and corporate. Then, I have a young friend of mine, he says, the big danger out there, Jose, is the robots taking over. Putting all of that together, do we have anything to worry about?
First of all, I will readily admit it's a question to which I don't know the answer. I've got a guess,
just for
but
fun.
My guess is just like any other person's guess, right?
Yes.
And when people say they absolutely know for sure, that always makes me exceptionally suspicious,
right? Because
nobody really knows. There are things about that what technology has brought us and done. There's an idea that we're, as a species, humanity, we live longer. Disease has never been more greatly challenged, right? We're feeding more people. Mortality rates in childbirth are almost, all-time lows, right? I mean, if you think about the pandemic, it's unbelievable the speed with which they were able to develop a vaccine that's kind of working.
Right.
It's like, so on one side, technology has got reasons to applaud it. On the other hand, there are some very real concerns that I hold for, I've got kids, right? And the volume of screen time, the antisocial nature of like, get out and play, sunshine, fresh air, grass. How can you argue that nature and, going back to, like once upon a time where campfire storytelling community, I don't think it's binary or, it's either or.
It's not that's a false choice, right? It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yes. Yeah. Very good.
So, I absolutely have, it's Pandora's box that it has been opened. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is that the one side that I don't see is closing it down, because capitalism by its nature is rapacious, right? It just keeps going and going and going, and the incentivization for technology to achieve things is rewarded with monetary figures that are unprecedented. If you look at from Amazon and Jeff Bezos, from Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, and things like that, that the rewards, if you get technology right and you innovate, they drive global
There you go.
change,
Yep.
and they bring the spoils of every possible thing you could ever hope to have.
Wonderful. I have to stop you now, Ellen. We're out of time. We have to do this again sometimes. What an honor to have you. Thank you so much. And let's connect again. Thank you for being on our show.
Thanks, Jose.
You're welcome. This is Jose Cruz signing off from the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite